and welcome to a short video mobilising the upper body, neck, shoulders and thoracic spine. First of all, let's align. If you're sitting down, think about a right angle at the front of the hip joints and at the back of the knee joints. If you're standing up, let your tailbone sink towards the floor and lengthen the crown of your head up and away from the tailbone. Also sitting on the chair, thinking about let your tailbone sink down towards the chair and release the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. We're going to aim to bring the back of the hips, the back of the shoulders and the back of the head into one line. Also, if you're standing up, think in terms of back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level. Let's just imagine that we've got a nice tight belt fastened around our waist that will cinch the waist in at the back of the waist, the sides of the waist and the front of the waist. And once we can imagine our muscles acting like quite a tight belt around the waist, let's think in terms of trying to draw our waist away from that tight belt so that it would be possible to run our fingers around between the belt and the waist from the spine across the back of the waist, sides of the waist and into the front of the waist. Let's broaden out across the shoulders and just allow the shoulders to relax into the weight of the arms. And from here we're going to begin to roll through a shoulder. And the idea here is to try to find the muscles that rotate the arm in the shoulder joint. It's possible, when we really think about it, to bring the shoulder blade in towards the spine, downwards, outwards, upwards. In towards the spine, downwards, upwards, outwards. And just a small rotational movement across the back of the rib cage. If the arm stays passive whilst we're doing this, there'll be a little bit of movement at the arm. And it's those connections between the shoulder blade and the arm that we're trying to activate here. So that when we're rolling and turning the shoulder, there's very little elevation of the shoulder towards the ear. We're staying much more in the muscles that connect the arm into the shoulder blade and then through that chain on towards the spine. So just lightly trying to roll the arm so that we rotate the arm right at the very top of the arm. Let it roll forwards and inwards a little, and then let it roll upwards and outwards and backwards a little and sinking down again. So now often this does take a little bit of practice, but if we keep coming back to it time and again, keeping our arm nice and passive and relaxed, it should gradually start to work. And it will help to take a little bit of tension away from the neck, away from the space between the shoulder blades and the back of the head, away from the side of the ear and down into the shoulder. Just gradually. So let's swap to the other side, as I've already done. And again, we can keep the arm passive, let the shoulder blade move in and then down and then out and then up and then in and then down and then out and then up. And gradually, where the connection between the shoulder blade and the back of the arm is, we're starting to work on using those muscles just to rotate the arm gently at the shoulder joint. So all the while we're doing this, also remembering that lift between the tailbone and the crown, back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head as level as we can hold them. So sometimes when we start to concentrate on one area of the body, we forget other areas. So let's just work through 4 more nice, even, gentle, regular breathing. And then, as we've done that, let's shrug the shoulders up towards the ears and then gently broadening out across the collarbones, releasing the shoulders down and away from the ears, and again releasing the shoulders gently into the weight of the arms. So let's breathe in again, shrugging the shoulders up. Breathing out, broaden out across the collarbones, let your shoulder blades be wide and just gently gliding down the back behind you. As we shrug the shoulders up, keeping the spine tall. And also as we breathe out and release the shoulders downwards, keeping the spine tall, keeping the waist strong with our imaginary belt and our waist squeezing in and away from the belt. So last one of those. Then let's take your left arm and bring it across, placing it onto the right shoulder, keeping the shoulders as broad as we can. Let's lengthen up from between the shoulder blades towards the crown of the head through the spine, and then lengthen the neck up to come over. So make sure you keep a little bit of work going through this underside of the neck so that the spine is stretching up and over, not crunching down and across. And breathing, and then from between the shoulder blades, restacking the spine into the crown of the head and releasing the arm. So then this time, the right arm, your right arm coming across, resting on your left shoulder, and once again locating the spine from between the shoulder blades into the crown and lifting up to come over, using that underside of the neck on the right side this time to support the spine in releasing up and over rather than crunching down and across. So breathing, and then again as we're ready, restacking the spine from between the shoulder blades into the crown and just relaxing a little. So let's take the stretch into the back of the neck and the upper back now. We're going to cross the arms in front of us. So usually an inhalation helps us with that. So as you breathe in, let your breath help you to stretch the muscles between your shoulder blades, and then clasping the shoulders, both sides, and once again re-lengthening through the spine, back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level. Let your collarbones open and your shoulder blades wide and releasing down the back. So you need to keep the waist quite strong, and again we're trying to flow the spine up to come forwards. So keep your waist strong and lifted, avoiding letting it sink, and from between the shoulder blades release up to come over through the neck. Breathing, especially if you can breathe back into the space between the shoulder blades, you'll feel a little bit more stretch here. Breathing, and then once again as you're ready, let's breathe in, restack the spine from between the shoulder blades into the crown and releasing the arms. So then we're going to cross the arms the other way, bring the other arm uppermost this time, breathing into the upper back to help you stretch the muscles to release the arms across. And then taking hold of the shoulders, collarbones broadening out, shoulder blades moving wide and down the back behind you. And then from here again, the waist staying nice and strong. Keep lifting into the crown of the head and then just releasing up to come over. Keep your waist strong and lifted. So it's a release up and over rather than crunching downwards and forwards. Breathing. And then once again, as you're ready, with an inhalation, restacking the spine from between the shoulder blades into the ground. Exhalation, release the arms away. Good. Now let's move on to a very gentle twisting action. And we do need to be aware with twists that if we have any osteoporosis in the spine, that twists are contraindicated. These are very, very gentle twists and they work with the eyesight. But still, remember that twists do carry risks and work very gently, or if you've been told to avoid twists, then leave this section out. So once again, we're going to lengthen up between the tailbone and the crown, see how tall we can make ourselves, tailbone sinking towards the seat and the crown of the head releasing up towards the ceiling. Belt nice and fastened, and from here, thinking about your right side, just allowing your eyes to gently travel around the room, looking at everything that you can see, taking really an interest in everything that you might be able to see. And it's just the neck that we're going to allow to travel with our eyes as far as it goes in a very gentle range of movement. Ideally, as we're turning the head, we're maintaining a fist distance between the chin and the chest, and often that doesn't quite happen, so it's worthwhile testing it, at least for the first few times, whilst you get used to the sensation of working with the neck really aligned at the top of the spine. And after we arrive at the end of the range of movement, as I'm doing now, looking at everything, coming back again. So then, as you're ready, let's allow the gaze to travel towards the left side. So looking at everything that you can see, no matter how familiar it is, just looking at it quite deliberately, quite distinctly, and again allowing the head to turn to a comfortable end of range of movement. Still thinking about that fist distance between the chin and the chest. Still thinking about that height between the tailbone and the crown, supporting it with the strength of the waist. And once again, as you're ready, coming back, looking at everything, little by little, allowing your neck to travel back to the centered position. If that went all right, let's think about doing it with a little bit more range of movement going down lower through the spine. So again, we're going to let the movement be led by our eyes, just allowing your arms to relax by your side so it's more easy for the spine through the back of the rib cage, the thoracic spine, to travel into the twist with you. It's important that the pelvis remains grounded, right hip, left hip, the same weight on the chair, little by little turning, looking at everything, coming to a gentle end of range of movement. If you should happen to be practicing this in standing, then the weight should stay even through both feet and your hips should stay directly forwards. And we get to the gentle end of range of movement, and then coming back, looking at everything, every little object, every little pattern, just little by little coming back. And although as we go into these twists, it often feels almost as though no twist is occurring at all, as we return, we may realize that actually, in fact, we mobilize the spine quite a lot. And it's enough. It is enough. And once again, as you're ready, going towards your left side, keeping the distance between the tailbone and the crown, keeping our belt strong, hips, shoulders and head aligned. Sometimes as we go into these twists, even with the eyes leading, there's a tendency for the shoulders to sink forwards or backwards, and just keep a check on that. And then again, letting the eyes travel back, looking at everything, little by little returning. Again, especially on that return movement, you may be aware of how much the spine is returning back to the aligned position and all the way through. Good. So let's release the twists, gentle though they were, with a little bit of a cat stretch. So to help us with that, we're going to really hollow in the lower abdomen. So sometimes we think in terms of this, the pelvic diamond, thumbs together, index fingers together, thumbs on the navel, index fingers towards the pubic bone, heels of the hands on the crests of the hip bones. And this is where we can draw back, really draw back in the muscles behind the heels of the hands, in the lower abdomen out towards the sides by the crests of the hip bones, and then also pull back through the center. So you get a very deliberate lift in the lower abdominal muscles, which helps the base of your spine to lift up and over the abdominal wall at the base of the spine. Let's keep the sides of the waist squeezing in and the front of the waist squeezing in. The back of the waist has to stretch here a little. Keep the shoulders and arms relatively relaxed, although they will come with you a little. And then squeeze the muscles around the base of the rib cage so you're pulling the floating ribs together. So this is all on an exhalation. And then as you're ready, breathing in to restack the spine, aim to feel the weight of each vertebra build systematically on the one below. Allow the head and neck to flow up at the end, avoiding needing to look too quickly where you're going. So just keep the mind in the spine, try to keep the eyes quiet. So again, we're going to hollow in the lower abdomen, drawing back away from the crests of the hip bones, hollowing between the pubic bone and the navel, sides of the waist squeeze in and the front, squeeze the muscles at the base of the breastbone, roll up to come over, really feel your abdominal wall strong, and roll your spine up and over, the strength of your abdominal wall lifting towards it. can breathe here, a breath or two if that suits you, and then again, restack the spine segment by segment. Let your collarbones open, shoulder blades wide against the back of the rib cage, sinking downwards, and lift from between the shoulder blades into the crown. So let's give it one more roll. And here we are again, starting nice and tall, and scoop and hollow, sides of the waist, front of the waist, base of the rib cage squeezing together, rolling up to come over. Keep your shoulders dropping back. Your upper back is like the crest of a wave, lifting up, not sinking down. Once again, breathe, and as you're ready, just rolling back up through the spine. An inhalation is quite nice to roll back up with, gives you lots of lift. Now, let's think about stretching the side a little. And if you're sitting down, reach towards the back of your chair. Hold your hips square, hold your shoulders square, and then let's breathe in, stretch up to come out into this arm. Going to keep broadening the ribs away from the breastbone, opening the collarbones away from the breastbone, opening the ribs in the back of the chest away from the spine. Keep the shoulder blade moving downwards. So we've got a firm grip on the chair, lean across and then up. So lean away from the grip on the chair towards your right, reach up to come over, try to feel the stretch, don't let go. I'm going to let go for a moment, in and around here. So this waist strong, lifting up, and the sides of the ribcage on your right side as if they're lifting up to between the wall and the corner of the ceiling above you. Breathing, and then once again, we just breathe in to lift up and away. If you're in standing, let the feet be a little bit wide apart, tailbone down, crown of the head reaching up, waist strong. Let's let the arm reach up to come over, and we just a little bit side bend away, keep reaching up and across. This side of the body stays strong, hips and shoulders stay square, avoiding a twist. Breathing in, release up to come down. So let's do the other side in seated, holding on to the back of the chair firmly, both hips stable, both hips the same weight, tailbone to crown nice and tall, nice and aligned. Let's breathe in to reach up to come over, opening the rib cage at the front and at the back, shoulder blade sinking, collarbone opening, breathing in, breathing out, waist strong. And then again, you can lean towards your left side and reach up and come through. So again, the stretch should be, don't let go, in and around here. It's the latissimus dorsi muscles, the lat muscles, lats as they're often called, that connect the arm and the back of the rib cage. So breathing, one of the muscles that connects the arm and the back of the rib cage. Breathing and releasing, letting go. So let's as well just relax our spines, coming forwards a little bit. So coming forward, we might just again roll the spine here 2 or 3 times. Nice hollowing in the lower abdomen, squeezing at the front of the abdomen, squeezing at the base of the breastbone, and breathe in to reopen again to that back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level. So just rolling there. And then after 2 or 3 of those, you can either just rest in this position with the head a little bit above the heart and the heart a little bit above the hips. And that would be the best if you have blood pressure, even if it's medicated. Otherwise, if you feel sort of confident about your blood pressure, can come down so that you're resting on the thighs, and also if you feel flexible enough and it's comfortable, resting on the thighs, head and heart at the same level. And if you don't have any blood pressure, can release the head below the heart here and just really relaxing all through the upper back. So 2 or 3 breaths. If you feel the breath is a little bit constricted in any of these positions, breathe into the back of your chest. Good. And then once again, as we're ready, we're going to just tuck the tailbone downwards and restacking the spine, vertebra by vertebra, rebuilding right back up to standing again. Or seated and upright again. And if you were in standing, hinging forward, using the thighs for support, abdominal muscles lifted, and here as well, you can just take a little bit of a cat stretch. rolling through and rolling through. And tailbone sinks down, rolling back up. We're going to do a little bit of breathing now. Breathing surprisingly helpful to the posture. Good breathing surprisingly useful and beneficial as well if we suffer from tension in the upper back and even in the neck. And this breath, this method of practicing the lateral breath, I think is particularly so. So we're going to, again, aim to remain tall as we practice the breathing. If you think that's going to be difficult, if you have a fairly upright chair, then lean back to take support from the chair. If you're in standing, if you've been working in standing, better to sit down now. Or if you prefer, you can practice lateral breathing lying down on the floor. However, to feel the benefits of the postural adjustment that breathing can bring about, it's better to try it upright. So, tailbone sinking down, crown of the head lengthening away, back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level. Gentle fastening on the belt such that you can maintain it for a few minutes. So a little bit of strength around the waist and the midsection to help you stay tall. We let the shoulders be nice and broad and wide, and the shoulders sinking away from the ears. And let's just gradually begin to experience our breath from the inside. Thinking about perhaps the space at the very, very top of the nostrils, the space between the eyes. And just spending a few moments to let your mind connect with the space between the eyes. Becoming used to that length and breadth and depth of space that's there. And possibly as the mind is able to connect with this space, we might feel that space open, soften, and a little bit relax. Next, let's move into the space between the ears. Just allowing the mind's eye to locate that space and to begin to occupy that space between the ears. As we allow the mind to rest here again, we might feel the space from the inside, just a little bit relaxing, a little bit softening, a little bit opening up. And then we'll let the mind travel through into the region at the back of the mouth, where we can really feel the breath becoming internalized. With the inhalations, allowing the space at the back of the mouth where the coolness of the breath comes in to gently open from the inside to receive the breath. And with the exhalations, allowing that pocket of space from the inside to soften and to relax behind the breath as it leaves. And then allowing our mind to travel into the space of the throat. And from the inside, as we can feel the cool air of the breath arriving in the throat, allowing the throat to open and to soften to receive the breath. And then again, as the breath leaves, allowing the muscles of the throat to soften and to relax again behind the breath, allowing all the muscles within the neck to relax from the inside as the breath leaves. And then beginning to bring the mind's focus into the upper chest. As we breathe in, visualizing the breath opening out behind the collarbones, visualizing the breath opening into the space of the shoulder joints to either side of the ribcage. Visualizing the breath opening space into the back of the upper chest, back towards the shoulder blades, the tops of the shoulder blades, and between the tops of the shoulder blades. And on the exhalations, allowing the breath to leave the body in a long, slow stream, beginning at the top of the breath, letting the exhalation begin in the nostrils, and then the back of the mouth, and then the throat, then the upper chest, mid-chest, depth of the chest. So of course, every breath that we bring into the body will be coming into the lungs in all areas of the chest. It's just that our mind's focus comes to the upper chest first, and now we're going to bring the mind's focus into the mid-chest. So as you're breathing in, allowing the ribs to open and widen away from the breastbone, to open and widen at the sides of the rib cage, beneath the shoulder joints, thinking about the breath coming into the back of the chest, sort of around the base of the shoulder blades, just below the shoulder blades, really breathing in, feeling the ribs opening away from the spine in the mid-back, in the mid-rib cage. And then again with the exhalations, breathing out from the top of the breath through the nostrils, through the back of the mouth, through the throat, breath leaving from the upper chest, mid-chest, depth of the chest. And then let's bring the mind's focus to the lower ribs, the base of the rib cage, the floating ribs. When we arrive at the floating ribs, we need to remember that the ribs separate, they start to separate from below the breastbone, and that more or less the floating ribs, rather than being in a round shape, they're more in a jagged letter C shape, a sort of jagged horseshoe shape. And so as we're breathing from the inside, trying to feel that we're breathing into the rib cage, trying to let the breath move sideways into the floating ribs at the sides and also backwards. So from the inside, trying to fill this jagged letter C shape with the breath. It's quite wide at the sides and the back, the breath now. And then again, on the exhalations, breathing out from the top of the breath, breathing out through the nostrils, through the back of the mouth, through the throat, then through the upper chest, mid-chest, depth of chest. I'm just going to try and breathe like this a few breaths longer, so long as it's comfortable. If at any point the breathing feels uncomfortable, just return to a natural breath. Just let any expansion or extension of the breath go and come back to a normal, natural breath. The way we're breathing at the moment, essentially, we're allowing the breath to come down in a narrow stream through the nostrils and the throat, and then deliberately, little by little, as the chest itself widens, we're aiming to feel our breath widen. So it's a kind of a funnel-shaped breath, using the funnel in the opposite direction from usual. And then as we breathe out, we may feel, as we breathe out in this way from the top of the breath, that our spines automatically open and lengthen. Remembering as we're breathing to keep our shoulders relaxed, to keep the arms relaxed and the hands relaxed so that the shoulders can stay relaxed. Keeping the breath broadening rather than hunching the shoulders. And gradually, as this style of breathing deepens and strengthens, the style of lateral breathing or broad, wide breathing strengthens, we may be able to notice on our exhalations that our rib cage naturally gathers in towards our spines with a certain amount of strength, helping to support that region of the spine. And also, if we observe closely, we may be able to feel from the inside, deep within our abdomens, that muscles are gathering in around the spine there as well. And these are the same muscles as we were aiming to tighten and activate earlier when we imagined a belt fastening around our waists and squeezing our waist away from the imaginary belt. And if as we walk around we're able to perhaps breathe every now and again a little bit like this, to feel the lift through our spine, to feel the strength in the muscles around the rib cage and around the waist, it will help us to maintain a good posture. The strength at the waist that we're feeling at the moment now is really crucial to good posture when we're walking and moving around. So let's work one last breath like this if we're still practicing the lateral breath, just allowing the breath to travel through the nostrils, just gently opening them from the inside, opening the back of the mouth from the inside, opening through the throat from the inside, widening behind the collarbones towards the shoulder joints and back in the upper chest, widening away from the breastbone into the ribs beneath the shoulder joints and into the back of the mid rib cage, and breathing into that jagged letter C or horseshoe shape, bringing the breath deep into the belly of the letter C. And then again with the exhalation, breathing out from the top of the breath through the nostrils, back of the mouth, throat, upper chest, mid-chest, depth of chest. Let's once again take a quick posture check. Tailbone to crown nice and tall. Let's keep the collarbones nice and open and the shoulder blades releasing down the back. Breathing in, arms circulate up. Breathing out, arms release down. Let's do that twice more. Breathing in, arms release up, spine remains tall. Breathing out to release down. And last time. Good. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I hope that you enjoyed this session.